Thank you. Michelle?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Smibert, and I'm proud to be running for Deputy Mayor for Thames Centre Council. I want to thank Kirk and your team for putting on this event. I know it takes a lot of planning and work behind the scenes, and so I want to say thank you to you. When I went door to door, I did hear within the community that they wanted this opportunity, a venue for residents to ask questions and for candidates to answer your questions. So I think this is a good evening. It's a good opportunity to get to know the candidates. And I want to thank all of the candidates too for putting your name forward. It's exciting to see that we have races in every position. I think you're finding in some parts of Southwestern Ontario, there's a lot of acclamation. So I think in Thames Centre, there's a buzz, there's some positive energy about this election, and I think that's a great thing. So a bit about myself. I have spent 30 years in local government. I was the clerk of Thames Centre at one point. I have graduated from the University of Western Ontario in the Masters of Local Administration program, and I'm still active on the alumni committee. I am a lifelong resident of Thames Centre. I, along with my husband, raised our kids, and we're still involved within the community. When our kids were little, we were active in the minor soccer program, Dorchester Minor Hockey, and currently I'm the secretary of the Lions Club. What I would like to see is, if I'm elected to be on council, is to work with the community to develop a strategic plan that would outline the goals and objectives of the municipality. I would also like to take a look at building a solid financial plan, and also providing housing options for seniors and for children, younger children, not really young. I have 3 children of myself, and they're 25, 24, and 22, and I definitely want to get them out of the house someday, so I'm looking for those options. I also think that engagement with the community is very important, and two-way communication. So I really look forward to answering some of your questions that you have for me tonight.
Thank you. So Paul, if elected, what are your top 3 priorities for your work in Thames Centre? How would you define, or what would you define as your priorities for Thorndale specifically?
The top 3 priorities, I guess, would be the recreation master plan that's coming up next year, to look at all of the recreation facilities in Thames Centre. And it's been mentioned earlier tonight, this building in particular, the possible phase 2 of it moving forward. Secondly, I think the transportation, specifically the crosswalk, it's been talked about for a number of years and has not happened. That is something that we need to work with the county, because it is a county road, and we need to make that happen for safety reasons. And thirdly, I think we need to address the affordable housing, attainable housing issue. And I'm not just sure how we do that, because that home prices in my mind are market driven. So how do we force developers or whatever to build affordable housing, and then just what is affordable housing? So that would be my 3 priorities.
Michelle, if elected, what are your top 3 priorities for your work in Thames Centre, and what would you define as the priorities for Thorndale specifically?
Yes, thank you. So as part of my opening comments, I alluded to the fact that I was looking for housing options for both seniors and for young people. So as Paul had indicated, there is a way to work with the development community to ensure that the community gets what they need in terms of their housing needs. What I've heard from Thorndale residents so far and going door to door is it's the trails and the walkability. I know that residents are looking for additional trails or interconnectivity with those trail systems, and also sidewalks on the main street to make sure that the pedestrian corridor is safe for pedestrians using that. I've also heard commercial development. We're seeing an influx in Thorndale of a lot of residential development, and I think that working with the economic development department at the county can certainly help to get that commercial development here in Thorndale.
Thank you. So Michelle, we're going to start with you. What is the most significant infrastructure, or what are the most significant infrastructure needs in Thorndale? What projects or priorities will you champion if elected?
So municipalities are governed by their asset management plan. So this plan will list what infrastructure needs are critical to the municipality. So specifically that includes roads, again, sidewalks, infrastructure such as water and sewer. So it really is that asset management plan that guides what type of capital projects would be needed. And in saying that, I would want to make sure too that we have a long-term capital plan that clearly identifies and outlines what the capital projects would be. And these projects need to be communicated to the community so that the community is aware of the work that the municipality is doing.
Paul, what are the most significant infrastructure needs here in Thorndale? What projects or priorities will you champion if elected?
I think the transportation system and our road network needs to be maintained and improved. Some of our gravel roads are possibly substandard and need some work. The sewage treatment plant, I believe, is at approximately 30% capacity, so I think we're okay there. With the development that's occurring now, there is room for that. Again, I'll go back to the crosswalk. That would be a capital project that needs to be looked at. And I guess, yeah, the whole rec department again as well.
So Paul, how would you plan to support economic development in Thorndale? What are the current challenges for businesses in Thorndale, and how do you plan to address these concerns?
Well, I think we all know that one of the biggest challenges right now is the workforce. You don't have to drive down too many streets without seeing help wanted signs out at almost every business. So it's, and Councillor Heeman referred to it earlier, with inflation the way it's going, that's adding challenges to bring commercial and industrial to rural areas. And transportation to get workers out here as well. There's lots of skilled labor in the city that have no transportation to get to the job. So we need to work with the county with the transportation bus system that we have going and see if we can improve on that. I realize that is a pilot program, but if we can work with the provincial government to get that made permanent would be a great asset.
Michelle, how do you plan to support economic development in Thorndale? What are the current challenges for businesses in Thorndale, and how do you plan to address these concerns?
I agree with Paul in that obviously we have a labor shortage. We're not unlike any other smaller municipality within the county though, and the County of Middlesex does have an economic development department, so it would be leveraging some of those resources to assist in generating that business. I do like the idea of the community improvement plan that was discussed earlier. That does leverage some investment within the town of Thorndale. Normally, when funding is available, you're finding that businesses are putting in more money to make those types of investments that help attract other businesses.
Thank you. Michelle, share some of the services that are available through Thames Centre that are not offered in Thorndale. What would your plan be to ensure that residents of Thorndale have access to the same level of services and programs that are available in Dorchester and other communities of Thames Centre?
So I am aware there have been concerns when I've been going door to door about the comparability between recreation services here as opposed to Dorchester. So as mentioned earlier, I understand that there's going to be a recreation master plan that will be developed with the new council. So I'm hoping that through engagement with the community, we can understand the specifics in terms of what Thorndale is looking for in order to achieve that compatibility with Dorchester.
Paul, please share some of the services that are available through Thames Centre that are not offered in Thorndale. What is your plan to ensure that residents of Thorndale have access to the same level of services and programs that are available in Dorchester and other communities of Thames Centre?
The Dorchester Senior Center, or Dorchester Lions Senior Center is a very busy spot down there, and I know that there are some programs that are run up here for the seniors, but we need to expand on that and make the program equal in both areas. Other things that we need to do is perhaps make it easier for making bill payments or planning applications or building applications, so that if we had an office in this building, maybe we could have someone in there to help residents get answers to their questions and simplify the process.
Michelle, how would you plan to involve residents in decision-making processes through Thames Centre for Thorndale?
That's a good question, and that's something that I'm really passionate about. I think it's the community residents that really build the community, and any council would absolutely love to get the input from all the residents. So I know a lot of legislation has, the minimum required, public meetings. I'd like to see an expansion of that, so that on some of the more major developments, we're having town halls specific with those affected residents to better engage, what the concerns are, so that we don't wait until that one big public meeting and try to address those concerns. So I think there needs to be more communication, there needs to be more engagement, and we need to do it on different channels as well. We have websites, I understand that, Facebook. Not everyone is engaged on those channels, so we have to take a look at what we can do better in terms of perhaps, putting inserts in the tax bills or the water bills, but we certainly have some work to do in terms of improving that communication and engagement.
Paul, how do you plan to involve residents in decision-making processes in Thames Centre for Thorndale?
Well, I would agree with Michelle. We need to engage the public more. The town hall meetings is a great idea to bring the ideas from the community to council, so council is aware of their feelings before we make decisions.
Just give me a moment. I think we're going to end on that question, but we would like you to provide some closing remarks. So I will invite Paul Hunter.
Well, thank you. I am from the rural background. I run a dairy farm at home. So I have my boots deep in the agricultural sector, and I believe that we need a member of council that has a strong, active role in agricultural to sit on council. The urban centers are just as important as the rural, but we need an equal voice for both. So come October 24th, I look for your vote, and I thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you.
I want to thank everyone that came out tonight. I'm hoping that on October the 24th, please vote for me, Michelle Smibert, for Deputy Mayor. I do believe that my experience of over 30 years and my education and my community involvement and my willingness to work with residents of Thames Centre will give me the leg up, as you will, in terms of being your deputy mayor for Thames Centre Council. And please, what's most important is, I know that staff's busy working on the election in the background. I just want to make sure that everyone does get out and exercise your right to vote. Voting starts on October the 17th. Thanks again and have a great evening.
Thank you. I'd like to invite the mayoral candidates up. So if you can start off with some opening remarks.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Peter Drucker said, effective leadership is not about making speeches or being liked. Leadership is defined by results, not attributes. My name is Kelly Elliott, and I am running to represent you as your mayor in the 2022-2026 municipal term. I was first elected here in Ward 1, Thorndale, as your councillor in 2014, and you elected me as your deputy mayor in 2018, a position I currently serve you as. I want to start off by thanking and commending I Love Thorndale, and particularly the youth of Thorndale, for organizing this event tonight. The fact that this was organized by local youth shows the real potential that our community holds with these young leaders. It is an important piece of civic engagement to be able to hear from the candidates looking for your support, so I am pleased to be here in front of you. I would also like to thank my fellow candidates for being here so residents have a chance to hear from you. When I was elected in 2014, my promise to you was to be a stronger voice for our community and bring a higher level of transparency than we had before. In 2018, I was committed to continuing this work I had started in Ward 1 for our entire municipality, and I've continued to do so. I go back to the quote that I opened with, that effective leadership is not always about being liked. One thing I never promised you was that you would always like me. I'm not the typical politician in terms that I will tell you what you want to hear or make promises or ideas or visions that I don't know if I can keep. I don't sugarcoat things in terms of being nice. What I do is do the research and do my homework. I do the advocacy, and I do what I'm able in the scope of being a municipal elected official. If I can't do it, I will tell you. If I have to advocate to other levels of government, I will tell you, and I will do that. That's what I do. You might not always like the answer you get from me, but you will get an answer, and I will make the changes that need to be made. Being a leader is doing and standing up for your community. If I didn't stand up for our community, you would have high-speed rail running through our farmers' fields. Our local high school would be closed. You would not see the capital expansion project on West Missouri Public School scheduled for next year in the Thames Valley District School Board Accommodation Plan. You would not see infrastructure funding awarded in our community for certain projects. You would not see railway crossings being fixed, and much more. I'm not afraid to tackle the Thames Valley District School Board, CN Rail, the province of Ontario, or the government of Canada to passionately advocate for our community. If this was the case, I wouldn't show up. The fact is, being a leader is hard. It's uncomfortable, but we have to do it and show up all of the time. I don't make promises I don't know if I can keep, but what I can tell you is I promise to continue to work hard for you every day, and I look forward to the questions you have for us.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sharron McMillan, and I'm running for mayor of Thames Centre. I have been not a long-time resident of here in terms of birth, like a lot of you. I was born and raised in Guelph, educated there, but we moved to this community in 1982 and raised our family there. So I've been here for 40 years, so I feel like an old-timer. We have many things going on in our community that are coming up. Some of them are going to be very exciting, and some of them are going to be very challenging. Growth and development is going to be changing our communities, whether we like it or not. We also We also have some other issues that are things that are going to be needed to be required around here. And Kelly has mentioned some of them, and many of the candidates here who have expressed particular ideas, all of which are quite valid. Like you, I have been out on the trail, and I have talked to a number of people. I don't know everyone in this route, but I'm certainly getting a flavor and a feel of this community. Some of the things that I've heard most are housing and development. I've heard about water rates. I've heard about keeping green space and preserving farmland, and all of those things are things that I keep on the top of my mind. If I am elected, I want to bring certain things to this table. I have a lot of business experience. I've been self-employed since approximately 1985 or 6. I've been president of the Thames Centre Business Association, and it's so sad that it did fold. But I'm also president of the IODE, and I'm very actively involved in that. I'll have more to say on some of these things as you ask questions. Thank you.
Kelly, if elected, what are your top 3 priorities for your work in Thames Centre? And what would you define as your priorities for Thorndale specifically?
Thank you. So my 3 top priorities, and this is tough because there are dozens of issues impacting our communities. So they're fairly broad, but one is updating and following the strategic plan that we've already laid out, that this term of council did. It laid out short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals for our community. It was a very public and collaborative procedure, and so updating and following that and making sure that this next term of council is on the right path moving forward as a community as a whole. Next is promoting our rural communities, specifically with on-farm diversified uses, and I'm really hoping we get the economic development question, because we have some exciting things happening in Thames Centre in terms of that, so continuing on with that. And overall community safety, including the policing and the road safety. For those that don't know, I sit on the Ontario Good Roads Association as a director, where we're doing a lot of work in terms of rural road safety. If elected, I will be at Queen's Park in November, launching a trying to get a full pledge from the province of Ontario to implement a full rural road safety project, which would be a $12 to $15 million investment in a pilot project that, if I am still on Ontario Good Roads, Thames Centre is seated very nicely to have in our community. And so there are, those are the 3 main ones, and they definitely roll right into Thorndale as well.
Sharron, if elected, what are your top 3 priorities for your work in Thames Centre, and what would you define as the priorities for Thorndale specifically?
Actually, as I've been out talking to people, there are a lot of issues, but the prime one that I've been hearing over and over again as I go through the more urbanized areas of these municipalities is housing. And it's not just houses itself, because I think that there's no denying that we need to expand our housing. We also need to expand the variety of the type of housing. I know that in Dorchester we definitely need another apartment building. Kids want to get out of their parents' basement, and parents want them out of their basements. I think the other thing that I've been hearing a lot about is the preservation of farms and farmland. And associated with that is the environmental aspect of our trails and all our natural spaces, which will be under increasing pressure as we grow and expand. I've also heard a lot about water rates. I've heard a lot about communication and transparency, and I understand too the divides, at least I'm beginning to understand the divide between these 2 communities. It's unfortunate. I think they're great communities in and of themselves, but I would really like to work on ways to try and help bridge that gap.
Sharron, what are the most significant infrastructure needs here in Thorndale? And what projects or priorities will you champion if elected?
Because I'm not a resident of Thorndale, I probably don't have as intimate a knowledge, but I have listened very carefully to all the other candidates who are on the stage, and I believe that each and every one of them have offered good solutions to some of the problems that you have up here. Roads, highways, all the sort of things that are involved with new housing developments, water, sewage, the whole thing, they're all important things, and I think they're common to both communities.
Kelly, what are the most significant infrastructure needs here in Thorndale? What projects or priorities will you champion if elected?
Thank you for that question. So one is going to be coming off the King Street infrastructure project that we just completed. Upper Queen, Agnes, and Railway Street all got beaten to shreds. I don't think anyone can deny that, in the fact of all of the detours that happened during King Street. So those would be my top infrastructure projects in town in Thorndale, but I think we can't get away from looking at our rural areas as well in terms of our gravel road conversion program and ensuring that our gravel roads are kept up, as well as looking at the traffic and the needs in the agricultural sector on making sure that our roads hold up. One of the things that we talked about, again, in that rural road safety at Ontario Good Roads, was looking at how municipalities have to adapt to the changing farming equipment that is happening. Farming equipment is larger than it's ever before, so ensuring that our roads can handle that equipment as well is a big issue.
Kelly, how do you plan to support economic development in Thorndale? What are the current challenges for businesses in Thorndale, and how do you plan to address these concerns?
So economic development and supporting local business is very multifaceted, and I often credit I Love Thorndale in the fact that I think they've done a lot of unique work up here in the north, particularly in supporting and promoting local businesses, including the loyalty card program and the promotions on social media and their website. And they've done a lot of grassroots ideas there and implemented good change. During the pandemic, I was honored to be a part of the Middlesex County Economic Resiliency Task Force, which was county council members as well as business owners and employment agencies from across the county. And we worked intimately with local businesses as much as we could and met their needs, as well as advocating for them, ensuring that during that pandemic time they were surviving with what they needed. Additionally, we've been working on a bigger economic development program because we can't always rely on Middlesex County to promote the local businesses here in Thames Centre. And so it hasn't been launched, it's been partially launched but not fully launched, but we did coordinate to support local maps and signs that you've seen around Thames Centre. We're pleased that we were able to work with a local marketing company actually owned by a local Thorndale resident that's going to produce commercials and social media videos promoting local businesses, as well as brochures and publications to promote the local businesses that we have in Thames Centre, as well as the amenities. Transit is a huge part, and one thing I do just want to touch on is the Middlesex County Connect transit program has been working and collaborating with the Thorndale Industrial Park as part of how we can get people to jobs in our industrial park, because we know, as everyone has mentioned, labor shortage is a huge concern. And I know that just working here in Thorndale, we've been trying to hire a heavy equipment operator for months now, so if you know anyone.
Sharron, how would you plan to support economic development in Thorndale? What are the current challenges for businesses, and how do you plan to address these concerns?
If I may, I would like to talk about the municipality sort of as a whole. I know that in each region there are economic challenges. We have 3 exits off the 401, and I think we should be taking as much advantage of that as we possibly can. Partnering with the city, with the economic development through Middlesex County definitely is the avenue that we have to go. And I would look forward to working with our CAO and the rest of the members of council in order to do that. I was very, very impressed before I came here. I stopped at Sassy's because as you know, in Dorchester, we suffered a fire in our grocery store. So we're really lacking on some of the fresh things that have come in. And it was a wonderful experience to see a business like that. I had no idea, really no idea, how all-encompassing that was. I used to think that Thorndale might need a grocery store, but I'm not all that sure. As far as economic development goes, I think it's also tied to employment, job security, wages. It would be nice to see some more dry type industry that could provide the jobs without having to have major environmental or other sorts of problems. So for sure, I would like to see a partnering of that and a further exploration as to what we can do. Thanks.
Sharon, share some of the services that are available through Thames Centre that are not offered in Thorndale. What would your plan be to ensure that residents of Thorndale have access to the same level of services and programs that are available in Dorchester and other communities of Thames Centre?
Well, like other people have said around here, the lack of your having direct contact with the municipality is a problem. And I would be very much in favor of exploring the options of having an office within this facility that you have here. Not only just to be a place where people can come and pay their bills or whatever. I also think that there would be times when it would be a great idea for mayors, members of council, deputy mayors, to actually come and have town hall meetings like this every so often, or maybe on a regular basis, where people in Thorndale could feel a little bit more connected to what's going on in the municipal office in Thames Centre.
Losing track of things here. Kelly, share some services that are available through Thames Centre that are not offered in Thorndale. What is your plan to ensure that residents from Thorndale have access to the same level of services and programs that are available in Dorchester and other communities of Thames Centre?
Thank you. As one of the Ward 1 councillor candidates had alluded to, we are undergoing a full organizational review at Thames Centre, as well as they brought forward a motion to look at how we offer services in Thames Centre as a whole. Part of that, and it was approved in the 2022 budget, as part of that organizational review, is bringing a full-time staff person up here to the Thorndale Lions Community Centre, so there is always a staff person available, and as well as looking at what services we can provide up here. One of the biggest, other biggest things, and I know I had a very passionate conversation outside, was in regards to access to the dump, to the landfill. The landfill is quite the hike from Thorndale, and one thing that we looked at was adding a transfer station to Rebecca Road for Thorndale residents. Unfortunately, the Ministry of Environment has bogged us down in lots of regulations and plans, and so there is a staff report coming to Monday's council meeting, actually, that would put that money towards the transfer plant, to instead go to tri-recycling. And so Thorndale residents, any Thames Centre resident, but particularly Thorndale, can utilize the tri-recycling plant at no charge to use those facilities.
Kelly, how do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making processes in Thames Centre, specifically for Thorndale?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was first elected 8 years ago, I promised to be more accessible than we had been, and that is something that I have tried to live up to become more accessible in regards to what's happening at council, updating people. I obviously have a large social media presence. I regularly do updates in the Village Voice. I've leveraged media in both the City of London as well as St. Mary's to ensure that information is getting out. During COVID, I started a blog to keep people updated on the website on all the changes that were constantly happening. So I have absolutely attempted to be that person. Do I think there are ways that we can do this better? Absolutely. It has been a learning curve to do this. But it is something that I'm passionate about. The other thing that I look to continue to do in order to get public participation is advisory committees. This last year, I brought forward a motion to create the Thames Centre Accessibility and Inclusivity Advisory Committee, which has brought phenomenal, great changes to Thames Centre. I've already spoken with several residents in next term of council if I'm elected in creating an environmental advisory committee as well as a recreation advisory committee. And so that way there's more chances to get involved and have your say.
Sharron, how do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making processes in Thames Centre, specifically for Thorndale?
For not only for Thorndale, but for the whole municipality. I think we've reached a stage in our growth and development where we really need to listen to our residents. Lines of communication are difficult things. It can't always be just one person taking charge of any sort of social media. I think we need to have something that comes directly from the municipality. I also believe that not everyone in this room, well, maybe not in this room, but in many rooms, carries a smartphone in their pocket. And not everyone has good access to computers. And over, I'm hearing about communication issues, that people really want to have better contact with their municipalities, and particularly as it pertains to things that really impact their lives. One of the other things that I think we need to do in terms of going forward is the whole issue of allowing the public the opportunity at a pre-consultation, and this was mentioned by Ms. Smibert in her address, and I'm a big supporter of that. Some of the fastest ways of getting people upset is for them not to know what exactly is going on. So I would like to see, when we have development issues, for example, have pre-consultations where people can actually come in, have a look at what is proposed and provide some input before the plans actually come to council. So I think those are the two main things. Thank you.
So Sharron, I'd like to invite you up to give your final remarks.
I want to thank everybody for coming here tonight and for the organizers that have put this on. Like many of you, I have concerns about governance in our municipality. I question things like fiscal responsibility, the seeming lack of effective communication at times, the pace of development, and the means to resolve related issues surrounding it. I'm a resident too, and I feel that there are times when we as citizens are not being listened to on critical issues. We can express our opinions, but sometimes I get the feeling that that's where it ends. If elected, I will bring fiscal responsibility, maturity, accountability, integrity, and change to council. I want to support our communities and provide strong voice to our local residents. I'm here to serve the people of Thames Centres, not just developers or special interest groups. I will ensure that when it comes to development within our municipal borders, it happens at a reasonable pace, and that we can control planning decisions following appropriate procedures under the Planning Act and the provincial policy statement, along with local and community and county officials. It's categorically false for any member to publicly state that we have no control over our development, because in the end, all decisions are made by local council. Should we face appeals, there are avenues to deal with this. I will build strong and trusted relations with our partners, both provincially and locally, and with representatives of the TDSB. I'll stay consistent on all my decisions here and at the county level, and in the respect of betterment for our residents. All communication and local issues will be shared openly and most often from the municipal office. I will also commit to a review of water, wastewater, the master servicing plan, transportation plan, environmental plan, as soon as I'm elected. Thank you very much.
Over the last 8 years, I've had many accomplishments. I have brought more notices of motion to bring issues to the forefront than any other council member. I've engaged in social and regular media like we've never seen before. I've provided more information and facts than the public has ever had access to. I've served you on the board of directors for the Ontario Good Roads Association and the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. I represent you on the Middlesex London Board of Health and various local committees, including for the Thorndale Fire Hall, the Thorndale Lions Community Centre, and the newly formed Thorndale Dog Day Park. I have brought notices of motions for better school funding, increasing the rural and northern education fund, and advocating to change for the provincial funding formula for schools, recognizing September 30th as the National Truth and Reconciliation Day in Thames Centre, supporting a local school retention plan and the work of the Community Schools Alliance, calling on the province of Ontario to properly assess aggregate extraction operations so they pay their fair share in taxes, calling on the AMO to help advocate for drainage versus railway issues, the creation of the Thames Centre Accessibility and Inclusivity Committee, supporting the work of the Rural Education Task Force, and keeping 2 trustee voices on Middlesex County, implementing the Farm 911 Emily project in Thames Centre, installing green flashing light warning signs at all major entrances, and supporting putting AEDs in all public spaces, and many more. Peely said success is no accident. It's hard work, perseverance, learning, studying, sacrifice, and most of all, love of what you're doing. That is what I bring to the table as your mayor, success of our community by putting in the hard work and the perseverance. Earlier this week, I was with our local MPP, Rob Flack, and the Minister of Education here in Thames Centre. Minister Lecce immediately stopped what he was doing to come say hello to me and proclaim to everyone standing there, Rob will always tell me what's happening, but if I really need to know the root of the issues, I go to Kelly. She will tell me. Well, this might not seem important, but what it shows is I put in the work to get noticed by those who can also make changes and develop those relationships that we need here in Thames Centre. You will always find me when the times are tough and when the times are good. You might not always like the answer that I have, but I will have answers for you, and I will work hard for you. I will offer you that hard work, the perseverance, the learning, the sacrifice, and the love for this community. We haven't touched on many issues tonight, and I'm glad that Isle of Thorndale will give each of us the opportunity to publish these as well, and so we can talk about things like taxes and water and wastewater rates and aggregate, which I just want to say the Pat Pitt is calling that is a near miss. But I really look forward to having your vote on October 17th through to October 24th.
So I want to thank you on behalf of our small but mighty team for coming. And as Kelly mentioned, we will make a commitment to sending out all of these questions. They're all important questions to all of the candidates, and then my friend Kirk will post it on our website for everyone to access. So watch the Isle of Thorndale social media. We'll let you know once that's up and ready to read. Okay? Thanks for coming.